All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into something really satisfying, venison burgers.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love a good burger?
Exactly. And what's great is we found this awesome recipe from Cork and Fry, and they break it down so well, like step by step.
Yeah, and what I really liked about it is how they really focus on making this lean protein venison taste absolutely amazing.
And that's what we want to do today, help you guys listening make the best venison burgers ever at home using this fork and fry recipe. So we're going to pull out all those tips and tricks and key insights, and by the end of this, you're going to be a venison burger master.
Absolutely. So where do we start?
Let's start with the ingredients, because that's what makes a burger, right?
Okay, so the star of the show is a pound of ground venison. So for anyone who hasn't cooked with venison before, it's deer meat, and it's actually way leaner than beef, which Fork and Fry points out is a huge plus if you're watching your diet.
Mm.
But it's also got this unique flavor. Some people say it's a bit gamey.
Yeah, gamey. That's a word you hear a lot with venison, but I know some people are actually into that kind of flavor.
Yeah, definitely. And this recipe actually uses Worcestershire sauce to kind of work with that flavor.
Oh, interesting. So 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. It's such a classic ingredient,
Yeah.
but what exactly is it doing in a venison burger?
Well, Worcestershire sauce is like this flavor bomb. It's got vinegar, molasses, anchovies, garlic, tamarind, all these things, and it adds this deep, savory richness
Mm.
that really complements the venison.
But it's not just masking the gamey flavor, it's actually working with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's enhancing it, rounding it out, and making it more balanced.
I see. So it's all about creating that umami that everyone loves.
Exactly. And then we've got the basics: black pepper, garlic powder, salt. You can't forget those.
Yeah, those are like the holy trinity of seasonings, right?
Absolutely. Salt brings out all those natural flavors. Pepper adds some warmth and a little kick. And garlic powder just makes everything smell amazing.
So we've got the savory base, but we need something to bind it all together, and that's where the egg comes in, right?
Yep. One egg. That's
Yep.
all it takes. When you're working with ground meat, the proteins start to break down. So the egg acts like this glue that holds everything together and prevents your patties from falling apart in the pan.
Hmm.
It also adds a little bit of moisture and richness.
Okay, so we're getting there.
Yeah.
But there's this optional ingredient that I'm really curious about, a 1/4 cup of chopped pork fatback or bacon.
Oh, yeah, that's the secret weapon for juicy burgers, especially
Mhm.
when you're working with something as lean as venison.
Yeah, because I know some people are hesitant to use venison for burgers because they think it's going to be dry.
And it can be if you don't do it right.
Oh,
But adding a little bit of pork fat, either fatback or bacon, just introduces that extra fat into the mix. And when it cooks, that fat renders out, and it's like basting the burger from the inside
okay.
out.
So it's like built-in juiciness.
Exactly. You get that melt in your mouth texture that you'd find in a really good restaurant burger.
I'm definitely going to have to try that next time. All right, so we've got our juicy patty, but we need something to put it on. And the recipe just says burger buns, keeping it simple.
Yeah. But don't underestimate the importance of a good bun. You want something that's sturdy enough to hold all the toppings, but not too dense, that it overpowers the flavor of the burger.
Yeah, it's like the unsung hero of the burger world.
Totally. And then there's the toppings. This is where you can really let your creativity shine. Fork and fry lists lettuce, tomato, cheese, pickles, but you could really go wild.
Oh, yeah, I love putting all kinds of crazy stuff on my burgers.
Exactly. It's
Yep.
all about building layers of flavor and texture. Some people like it spicy, some people like it cheesy. It's totally up to you.
So we've got our ingredients prepped. Now let's get to the actual cooking process. And step 1, according to Fork and Fry, is mixing. But they emphasize gentle mixing. Why is that so important?
Because you don't want to overwork the meat.
Yeah,
If you mix it too much, you'll develop the protein structure and the burgers will end up tough. So just mix it until everything's combined and that's it.
so it's kind of like baking in a way. You don't want to knead the meat.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. You want those proteins to stay relaxed and tender.
Gotcha. Then step 2 is shaping those patties into even half-inch thick discs.
And evenness is key here. You want all the burgers to cook at the same rate. If some are thicker than others, you'll end up with some that are overcooked and some that are undercooked.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess half an inch is a good starting point.
Yeah, it's a good balance between cooking time and juiciness. But you can definitely adjust it to your liking.
And then comes the step that I always forget about, chilling the patties for 15 to 20 minutes. Why is that necessary?
Oh, it makes a huge difference. First of all, it helps the patties hold their shape when you cook them, especially if you added that pork fat.
Oh, right, because the fat solidifies in the fridge.
Exactly. And secondly, when a cold patty hits a hot pan, it sears much faster, and that creates a crust that locks in all those delicious juices.
So it's worth the wait. It's like a little insurance policy for a juicy burger.
Precisely. Then we move on to the main event, cooking those burgers. Fork and Fry says to use a skillet over medium-high heat with a little bit of oil and cook for 3 to 4 minutes per side.
And the key is to get that internal temperature to 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Right?
Yep. That's the magic number for venison. It ensures that it's cooked through and safe to eat, but it's also still juicy and tender.
Food safety is definitely a priority. And while the burgers are cooking, we can't forget about buns.
Yeah, toasting those buns is essential. It adds a nice crunch and prevents them from getting soggy from all those burger juices.
Nobody likes a soggy bun. That's the worst.
The absolute worst. And you can toast them in the skillet or on the grill, whatever you prefer.
And then finally, the moment we've all been waiting for, assembly. Just pile on those toppings and enjoy.
Yes, exactly. It's like building your own culinary masterpiece.
I love it.
Yeah.
So looking back at this fork and fry recipe, what are the biggest takeaways for our listeners?
Okay, so first, embrace the venison. Don't be afraid of that gamey flavor. It's what makes it special. And the Worcestershire sauce really helps to balance it out.
Yeah, and remember to be gentle when mixing the meat. You don't want to end up with tough burgers.
And don't skip the chilling step. It makes a big difference in both texture and juiciness.
And of course, always use a meat thermometer to make sure you hit that 145 degrees Fahrenheit.
Exactly. Safety first.
Yeah.
And don't forget about those buns. Toast them for extra flavor and crunch.
So many great tips in one recipe.
And if you want more awesome recipes like this, be sure to check out Fork and Fry's website, www.forkandfry.com. They've got tons of amazing stuff.
And we want to hear from you guys. What are your favorite burger toppings? Have you tried venison burgers before? Let us know on social media. We love hearing from our listeners.
This whole deep dive into venison burgers has really got me thinking about all the other possibilities out there. There are so many underappreciated proteins that we could be using in our cooking.
Yeah, like what about elk burgers or bison burgers? The possibilities are endless.
Exactly. It's all about getting creative and trying new things. You might just discover your new favorite burger.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.
Happy cooking, everyone.